Hey guys, Matt here, and today me and my partner Liam will be exploring the benefits of using a network database for business programming over an embedded database. If you're ever creating an application that requires a database for other people, to be able to use your app using a network database will prove extremely valuable. You've already learned about using databases today, and today we're going to show you how to take this to the next level in a real-world example. I'll now hand you over to Liam.
Yeah, so the reason we decided to go with a remote database connection as opposed to a locally stored database was so that you can access the application at anywhere, at any time in the world, as long as you have an internet connection. So before we get into the excitement of making your own web server, we're going to take you through GitHub quickly. What GitHub is, it's a tool that allows you to create a private repository through which developers can access and contribute to your project. So here you see our project stored in GitHub, and this final project, this shows you the master branch, but that is actually a combination of many branches. And you see here, for example, we've got a branch for our callable statements, our GUI, our open and close connection methods. So you can use a branch for developing a feature, and then once those features are working properly, push them to the master branch. So how do we actually get our project stored in GitHub into NetBeans? Well, NetBeans actually allows you to import your GitHub repository. So to do that, you're going to click the menu at the top, click Team, Git, clone the repository, paste in the URL, specify username and password, usually your GitHub account, clone it into a local directory so you can access it on your own computer. Hit Next. We're going to connect. Then we'll choose the branches that we want to access in NetBeans. In this case, we're just going to access the master branch because we're showing you our final project. Next again, and then specify a clone name, the parent directory once again, and hit Finish. So I'll just wait for that to clone now. Once this dialog box opens, hit Open Project. And now as you can see, we've got a version of our project in NetBeans directly downloaded from GitHub, ready to work on. To save any changes you made while working on the project locally, you can easily push them back to the GitHub repository by hitting Team, committing those changes, and then going to Remote and pushing those to upstream, and those changes will then be reflected in the GitHub repository and then downloadable back into NetBeans by pulling from upstream. Now, to create your own database web server, you can use the Microsoft Azure portal, which gives you access to a variety of tools that take advantage of technologies such as Internet of Things, data analytics, and machine learning. However, in this project, we're going to focus on creating a cloud-based mySQL server. To do this, click the plus icon on the left, select Databases, and choose Azure Database for MySQL. To create the server, fill in the details, server name, a source, your login name and password, and hit Create. Now let's go and have a look at our own web server that we've created called Java Assignment and see what it allows us to do. Okay, so the Azure portal can be used to create store procedures, which you will see later. But for now, since we've just created our remote web server, why don't we go into NetBeans and connect to that. So to do that in NetBeans, go to the left-hand pane, choose the Services tab, go to Databases, right-click Databases, New Connection, select the MySQL driver, hit Next, then we'll enter the parameters of the server. So I'll just do that now. As you can see here, we have a successful connection, so we'll go ahead and connect by clicking Finish. Just for ease of reference, we'll now rename the connection to Java Assignment. Now within this connection, you can see that we've now got access to the Messenger database, stored on the server, all our tables, and our stored procedures, get messages, and insert message.
Okay, so now that we're in our GitHub, I'm going to load up the app. Alright, it's loading. As you can see at the bottom, it's found the SQL driver and it's connected to the database. So now I'm just going to, for an example, write a message to Liam. So I'm going to write, hello, Liam. Okay, and this will send the message to the database, and this list view will return what's in the database. So Liam's now replying to our message, and it popped up. Liam says, "Hello, Matt." Lovely. What a sweetheart. So the way this works is, in the scene builder, we've created the list view up here, and then we've had the two text fields for name and message over here, and then the button called send message, right? That is how we've created the GUI, and that we already know that. So I'm going to go back into NetBeans now and show you how it works. So in MessageDB, which is our class, we've created a few methods. So we've created an open connection method, which is pretty self-explanatory, but we've made sure we've connected to the database on Azure versus the normal databases we've been doing in the 2605 tutorials. And then that's the open connection, and there's also the classic closed connection method. So what's unique to our app is we have the insert record method, where we've used a callable statement called insert statement, and we've connected to the data, used our connection to call the insert message query, which we've already defined inside the database, and Liam will talk about that later. And what happens is, basically, it gets the strings from the name and message text fields and inserts that into the database. Then we have the get messages method, which is an observable list. Basically, we've had our callable statement to use the get messages method, which is defined in the database, and basically it uses a list thread to turn the strings which are in the name and message tables into a list, and then we've turned that list into an observable list. The reason we've used an observable list is because observable lists update themselves whenever any changes are made to the database. So in the controller, the way our app functions is when the event of clicking the send message button happens, we first of all clarify that the no message fields can be left empty using this if statement. And then what happens is it uses the insert record and it gathers the name and message text fields, inserts them into the database using the insert record method. Then we use the set items predefined Java method to put the observable list into the thread, which is what we've called our list view, using the get messages method. Then after you send your message, the message field clears. However, we did not clear the name field, as it would be a bit tedious to continue entering your name every time you want to talk to someone. So now you've seen our app in action, how is it that the list view automatically refreshes? Well, this is enabled by both a timer and a timer task object. The timer class allows you to set a timer, and the timer task class a task with the timer. The interval for the timer is set to repeatedly tick over using the schedule at fixed rate method, which is down here, and that's predefined in Java. The interval for the timer is set to repeatedly tick over. The task is then executed by using the run method from the timer task class, resulting in the list view constantly reflecting the changes pushed to the observable list by the insert record method. So the current app we've built here is just a very bare bones MVP for now. Future iterations could be an internal company messaging system, fitting a CSS to the list view to improve appearance, and potentially adding things like emojis and notifications for the messages to make the app a bit more dynamic and increase its capabilities.
And to wrap up, I want to delve a little deeper into a more advanced topic of callable statements. Callable statements are statements used to call a stored procedure, typically an SQL procedure stored on a database. This has multiple advantages, some being they are easy to use and access, they are portable and reusable, meaning that they can be used by any application accessing the database, and are called in Java using native Java syntax as opposed to pure SQL. Now here is an example of one of the callable statements we use to insert records into our database. It's called insert message. You'll see it's very similar to a standard insert SQL statement. However, in the procedure there are two in parameters. These parameters are passed into the stored procedure and guide which data will be inserted into the database. In this case, a name and a message parameter. I'll quickly show you how that works in Azure. So in Azure you can write procedures directly to the database by clicking this Cloud Shell button, connecting to the server, which I'll do now. Okay, so now we're in the server, we need to change to use our Messenger database. So now we're in the Messenger database, we can now write the stored procedure. So just paste it into Azure. Okay, so now we have created the procedure, so let's go into NetBeans and see what we can do with that. As we said before, our connection to the server is called Java assignment, so if we open up that connection, you'll see now in our Messenger database we have the insert message procedure. We have used this procedure in the IDE inside the insert record method, and we call it by creating a callable statement and use the method prepare call from the connection class and call it using this syntax. So we'll write call, the procedure name, in this case insert message, and two wildcards to represent the in parameters, which you'll see here are name and message. So that wraps up our video. We hope you learned something. Ciao.